Hello and welcome to the Book Marketing Simplified podcast. I'm Jen Hanson-dePaula.
And I'm Marcus-dePaula. And Jen, you've got another Instagram gem for authors today, as we are constantly trying to find new ways to interact and not just broadcast to our audience. You've got a great piece of advice today for authors.
I think something that is so simple, yet often so overlooked when it comes to figuring out what to post on Instagram or post on social media, or what kind of content you should provide to connect with your ideal readers, is simply asking. And it's something that a lot of people shy away from because they think that they're intruding, or what do I ask, or all of this. But, and I dare say the word survey, because I know that I kind of tighten up whenever I hear the word survey, but this is going to be used in a fun way that's going to provide a lot of information.
Right.
So I recently came across an article on Hootsuite that showed different stats about Instagram and some of the most underused tools that are used on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
It said that 57% of Instagram users enjoy seeing polls and quizzes.
I know I do.
57%. That's massive.
That's a majority.
Yes. And so when we think about having a survey or asking questions or getting information from readers, using the stickers, the poll stickers, or the quiz stickers in your stories is a fantastic way to gain information from your readers about what kind of content they like.
Besides just being an easy way to have more interactive content, this is really important because it demonstrates how you aren't just broadcasting to them. You actually want to hear from them, and you want it to be an interactive exchange.
Exactly. And we can think that our readers are thinking one way.
Yes.
Assuming is not good.
Right.
And we can think that we know our readers, but honestly, there have been so many times where I've asked questions where I thought it was going to go one way and it comes back another.
Interesting.
That is very, very interesting.
Yeah.
For example, I did a poll one time on, do you prefer looking at images or watching reels? And overwhelmingly, my audience said images.
Really?
Which was fascinating.
Yeah.
And this was probably 6 months ago that I did that.
So maybe it's changed by now.
And maybe it's changed. That's right. And so asking questions, just very simple questions, is eye-opening. And it provides just a ton of valuable information.
All right, so you say this is easy and to ask simple questions. Can you give some more details of how we can do this to where it's not time-consuming and it's also not a labor for someone to respond to?
Yes. So, for example, let's say you use the question sticker in stories and you post a simple question asking, what characteristics do you look for in a main character if you write fiction?
Okay.
And if you write nonfiction, asking them something like, where do you look for information for this problem?
Yeah. So is it possible to give them a multiple choice option?
Absolutely.
And then there's also the write-in one, but it's probably better to just get the shortest answer possible.
Well, they have limited space when they answer a question, so it's not like they can go on and on. But if you want to prompt them with a couple of options, that would be a good one for the poll sticker or even the quiz sticker.
Okay. So once again, one of the reasons we love Instagram is because they give you a variety of tools to pick from for you to interact with, and you can switch it up and try different things and see what works best.
And it's something where you can pose these questions multiple times because stories only live for 24 hours. Maybe not everyone saw your quiz, and that is just something that you can reuse over and over again.
Yeah.
And the added benefit of having quizzes and using these stickers in your stories is it dramatically boosts your engagement.
Yes. Now, to get back to your point about using these over and over again, you probably don't want to use the exact same question. It can basically be the same information you're looking for, but just wording it differently so people are like, oh, I've already seen this. I'm not going to answer this again.
For example, with my question, do you prefer reels or images?
Mm-hmm.
Because I had posted that several months ago, I could use the same wording.
The exact same question.
Yes.
Okay.
But if you were to do it all within 1 week,
Yeah.
no. And honestly, like if you were looking at a survey has multiple questions.
Mm-hmm.
This is something where you could take a week and pose one question a day.
That's a great idea.
And you can gain just a ton of information, but it's breaking it up to make it more fun,
Right.
rather than sitting down to take a full-on survey.
And one thing I wanted to clarify, this only works in stories. Is that correct? You can't do this as like a regular post or in a reel. But I guess if you wanted to try it within a reel, you would just have to pose the question within the reel itself and then have them answer in the comments.
Yes.
But at that point, it's a little harder to process information.
Right. It's easiest to use it within stories
Okay.
because they have those stickers that you can easily interact with.
So we have to keep in mind that since this only works in stories, you have to be very strategic about when you post them because they do disappear after 24 hours.
Yes. And making sure that you go back and look at the information. That's a big thing as well. But it's interesting because when you do a poll or when you do a quiz, users can see what the results are.
And that helps foster the community element of where
Exactly.
they're feeling a part of a larger group, which can also be beneficial for your
Yeah.
online platform.
If they answer a question, though, the community doesn't see it.
Oh, okay.
But if there's a poll or a quiz, you
Gotcha.
can see what other people are saying.
That's good to know. So considering all those little details and how you can leverage them for your overall strategy. So obviously we are trying to build engagement on our platform, but how do we actually use the information we learn from the polls and these questions that we're asking to benefit our marketing plan?
So the amazing thing about getting actual reader feedback is that you can use their exact words and phrases within blog posts, within social media posts. Like if you were a fiction writer describing characters, if that was one of your questions, you can use some of the exact phrases within your description that you use on Amazon.
Okay.
That these are the things that people are looking for.
They're keywords.
They're keywords. And so you are able to really get into the mind of your ideal reader and use words that they actually use to find books and content that they're looking for.
Right.
Which is pure gold, because figuring out those keywords and having people say, how did you get into my mind? Like, this is the kind of character that I want to read, or these are the kind of problems that I'm having that you address in your book. It's getting actual search terms that people use to find what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
I know in the past, I've sat down and just racked my brain. You and I have talked about, oh, this is probably what they search for. And then it's nothing like what we assumed.
Well, and especially when it comes to nonfiction content and books, because we live in this world that we're trying to help people, there's all these jargon industry terms.
Yes.
And the truth is the people that need your help aren't even aware of a lot of those terms. So this is a way that you can figure out how to actually get them the information that they're looking for.
It's not only beneficial to you as the writer, but it's beneficial for your reader as well.
Exactly. So what I'm hearing you say is to make sure that you use these tools strategically, not just in your content marketing plan and how you time them as you interact with your audience on a consistent basis, but also in how you analyze the information you're receiving, which means that you need to be strategic also in planning out exactly which questions you want to ask so that you are already thinking ahead to the answers you're seeking. This is your marketing strategy.
Exactly. And thinking about easy to answer questions.
Right.
It's not having them write out a magnum opus. It's not something that's going to take a lot of brain power for them to answer. It's very basic questions. So for fiction, thinking about your characters, how do readers want to feel when they read a book? What genres do they mainly look at? What are some words that they use to look up books that they want to read on Amazon?
Right. And as you're phrasing these questions, getting in the mind of your ideal reader,
Yes.
like we always talk about, and trying to figure out the language that they would most relate to as you're coming up with these prompts for them so that it's a no-brainer for them to click and respond on that story.
Exactly.
And then once they see that you're making an effort to interact with them, they're more likely to keep checking back and watch more of your stories and follow your account even more closely. So you're building that loyalty
Yes.
and trust.
Well, and people want to know that they're heard.
Yeah.
That's what everyone longs for.
That's just a human thing.
Yes, they want to be seen and heard. And especially when they can contribute to a favorite author or to a genre that they love and wanting to get content that they are interested in, absolutely they're going to take part in that. And you never know, you might see something and think, oh, that would make a great story. Or, oh, I hadn't thought about that question or that problem. I should think about that for my next book.
Right.
Or I should write a blog post about that. It's going to prompt a lot of different ideas that you can run with and use in the future as well.
And I've also seen people take screenshots of the responses to some of the questions and use those as a public display of the conversation, especially if the questions where the public isn't seeing the responses, like with the quizzes.
Just make sure not, I've seen so many people post responses and they're like 27 stories. Yeah. Don't do that.
Don't overdo it. Less is more.
Yes. So maybe picking 2 or 3 of your favorites and sharing those is great.
Yeah.
If you want to get into deeper conversations, even saying in your story, if you'd be willing to have a quick conversation with me, I'd love to talk with you.
Yeah.
And that is a great way to start connections with your readers. And if some of them want to hop on a 5-minute phone call, that's awesome. You would get a lot of information.
So it's time for the make it happen moment. I can already probably guess what you're going to say.
What do you think I'm going to say, Marcus?
Try doing either a quiz or a poll in your story.
But what I was also going to say is sit down and write out 5 questions.
Okay.
Think of just very basic questions. Nothing too deep, nothing too crazy.
And it doesn't have to be about your book.
No.
It can be about your own personal interests like animals or cooking or whatever.
Absolutely. And it's not only giving you amazing information, but it's helping you connect with your readers in a deeper way.
All right, so I'll be watching for your next poll on Instagram. And we'll be watching for all of you listeners, too, to see what you're asking.
Absolutely.
But as always, let us know what's working, what's not working, and if any other questions arise as you try out this new strategy for your marketing plan.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to hearing your results.
And finally, I just wanted to tease really quick. Jen has been working really hard on some amazing new resources for you. So if you haven't subscribed to our newsletter, I highly encourage you to do that. Go to mixthismedia.com and make sure you are paying attention to what Jen has got coming up for you.
Yes, I'm excited.
So thanks for listening.
See you next time.